I'm Florian Giraud. I'm the vice president for the consumer business at Shadow, which means I handle all that is about marketing, communication, partnerships, and growth for the company that is growing very rapidly. So Shadow has been created in the end of 2015. It was really a pioneer for cloud as a cloud streaming service, which showed that it was possible. When we created the company, people say it will never work. You won't be able to have a cloud-based experience for gamers that will be as good as a local computer. But very rapidly, we demonstrated it was possible, and that the future of gaming would be much more powerful, fueled with this new cloud technology. And that was clearly the direction in which we should go. And we were soon followed by other players, who, like us, see the future of gaming in the cloud. It's very simple. Shadow provides a powerful cloud-based computer that is accessible on any screen through streaming technology and a cheap monthly subscription. So it means you don't need new PC anymore. You don't need a hardware. The goal is to remove the need to own a dedicated, powerful hardware at all, and make computing more accessible, especially to gamers, who are those that need a powerful machine and that can see the limits of physical hardware, which becomes very quickly obsolete, that you have to upgrade, change components, and stuff like this. So we free gamers from this hardware constraints, and how it works is very simple. Your games and your software, they're just running on a distant data center and streamed, and the results of this is streamed to any internet-connected device. So on your smartphone, on your existing laptop, on your smart TV, you just download the Shadow app and you get access to your full Windows 10 computer that is perfectly suited to run just any games that you want, even the most demanding games and the latest release, which means that hardware is no longer a constraint when it comes to high-quality gaming.
How is Shadow actually working? Do you have like queue time? Sometimes with cloud streaming services, you have queue times because you have to have a machine available or something like that. How does Shadow handle that aspect?
So our model is a bit different. So first, as I said, the approach compared to competition when it comes to cloud gaming, our approach is very different. We don't offer a catalog of games, but a full PC with a subscription that is a bit more expensive than just a cloud gaming catalog. It's starting at €12.99 Euro per month, but you get access to your full PC. But since it's your PC, there is no queue. You can access it anytime. So we size the infrastructure in a way that at any time you can access your PC. So it's just a question of sizing, and then how it works is still you always have access to a PC to your PC, but when you don't use it, the components like the graphic card, which is the most expensive component for, of course, in your computer, it can be used by someone else. And that's how we can share and leverage this sharing model to increase its efficiency. So it becomes cheaper for the user. That's why we can come to this low monthly price. But it's also more sustainable because it means we no longer have to produce one computer for one user. And there is not all this waste that is created that is related to hardware. For instance, when I'm talking to you and I'm not using my smartphone, it means all the intelligence that is in it is just wasted. And with our model, it's better shared, and we think it's more sustainable. So at any time you can have access to your computer, but of course it relies on a sharing model.
So how do you handle like bottlenecking maybe in the evening or something like that when everybody wants to play games?
So now we've been running this service for quite some time, so we know more on the use of Shadow, and we have more data, which enable us to forecast how many hardware we'll need for a certain number of users, and so our models are more and more precise. But what was interesting is that these models, they were challenged by this year that we are going through of COVID, which changes everything. All the patterns change, and the way people accessed Shadow changed.
Like I tried to stress test it at different points during the day and never had to wait for anything. It was just like instant on.
Yeah. It can happen. It's very rare, but we are a startup, so sometimes everything is not perfect, and that's why also we're deploying the service not too rapidly. We take some time so that the experience is the best possible for user. So if you want to access the service, it takes time. Even in countries where we operate, we have a long waiting list, but we do that so to ensure the best experience. And when it happens, we solve it very, very quickly.
It's almost like pre-ordering a computer or a console or something like that, and waiting for it, and then at some point you'll get access to it, right?
Yeah. For now we have this problem, which is not really a problem, but we have much more demand than supply.
Yeah.
So it's good. I prefer that than the opposite.
Of course.
but it's true that our data centers are always full. So what you say in terms of sizing is very important, and that's why we are sometimes there can be some under capacity, but we solve it very quickly. But the fact that we are always full, and anytime we add a new slot, we add a customer because we have someone waiting in the line, means we have to be very precise on how we size the infrastructure. And hopefully soon we'll be able to meet this growing demand, a demand that has also accelerated in the past year, again, because of this crisis, which accelerated as well the need for computing, the excitement around new game release, but also because we are a full computer, the need to find solution to work from home when you don't necessarily have the right equipment. So we are really in line with the demand. We are in line with what the market wants, and now we try to deliver it as fast as possible without risking poor experience for the user, because it's our top priority.
Yeah, and of course Shadow is I guess geared towards gaming in the marketing and probably also in the use cases. But could you just use Shadow as a regular computer and do work on it and video editing, and what's like the different what's the possibilities with Shadow, I guess?
Yes, the possibilities are unlimited. It's a full Windows computer, and what's at the heart of our model is the freedom. We took this approach of PC because even in gaming, PC gaming has the reputation to grant gamers more freedom. Because you can choose where you buy your games, you can have more personalization and so on. Yeah. But it also means that you can do just anything else. It's exactly the same thing as a PC, except it's better because you don't have all the drawbacks of having to keep it up to date, struggle with the hardware and so on. But basically, you can just run any software that you want, and of course, because it's a gaming PC with a very good graphic card, it's even more and better suited to GPU-intensive software. Yeah. And video editing is a good example, but we have a lot of use cases and a lot of creators using Shadow, and not only gamers.
Yeah. I think one of the most interesting experiences I had was just using I have an iPad, and just hooking up my iPad with my keyboard and a mouse, and then just using it as a small very powerful laptop.
Yeah.
That was quite amazing, and I could actually do some real work on the device.
Yeah, it means that even for the future of hardware, you won't imagine miniaturizing a big graphic card into an iPad or even into a smartphone.
Yeah.
And in the future, if you eliminate these constraints, these physical constraints, you can imagine much more powerful device. Basically, with streaming, with instant streaming, you unlock the power of millions of devices that we have. We all have a number of screens that we don't always use. We can really unlock their power. And we do this with computers, with tablets, as you just mentioned. The next frontier for us is VR, for instance.
Yeah.
Because if there is one device that is really limited by its hardware, by its size, and so on, it's the VR headset. Either you have to link it to a powerful computer, but obviously when you think about VR, you're not thinking about you moving around with a cable.
Yeah.
Either you have a standalone headset, which exists, but which has the power of a smartphone. Not much more. But once you can stream the power directly to the headset, it means you unleash amazing opportunities for something that has been so far much more a buzzword than a reality due to these physical constraints. So it's the next frontier, and we think it will also apply to just any device, any hardware device. In the future, probably we won't talk about smart device, but we'll have very dumb device, very basic device, maybe screens, and have all the computing power shared and stream from the cloud.
So what do you do to keep latency down?
There are many things for us to tackle latency, which, as you say, is very critical when it comes to gaming specifically. The first thing is that we are designing our own infrastructure, which is made specifically for this service and so for instant streaming challenges. We're not just taking all infrastructure that we might have for something else and turning it as we can for cloud gaming. No, it's by design made for this. So the first thing is that it helps. We don't have any legacy issue. The second thing is, of course, our tech. And one of the challenges is encoding and decoding technology, on which we've worked for a long time, and we think we still have the best tech on it, and it reduces dramatically the latency. There is also partnership and collaboration with the ISPs, with the telecom companies, because depending on how you're cabled to their network, it can work more or less. And so, there's many things being done. We have a lot of things also I won't disclose today because I don't want to tease too much. But in terms of R&D, using AI, we'll be able also to reduce even more any latency that could be perceivable. But for now, we are already reaching levels that are unnoticeable when you have a decent internet connection. And there is also one parameter, which is having a data center that is close enough to where you live. So Europe is not so big for now, and we don't cover all Europe, as you know. But for instance, we are in the US, and obviously in the US we need more data centers. So that's also a parameter that we take into consideration, of course.
Perfect. So can you talk a little bit about the different tiers with Shadow? You have the base model, and then you can scale up once you get access to Shadow, right?
Yeah, we have three tiers. Our main tiers is Shadow Boost, which is the entry tier. It's at $12.99 a month, and you get basically an NVIDIA 1080, which is already better than what 80% of gamers have when you look at data from Steam. Which is already a very good computer. And once you're a Shadow user, we have the possibility to offer you even more powerful configuration that we've been testing in the past years. So we don't have a lot of them, so it means they are very demanded. But people really enjoy it and probably will scale these as well. So it's Shadow Ultra with RTX 2080. And Shadow Infinite, which is the probably the config you would not even dare to dream with Titan RTX. And it's quite impressive because you mentioned your experience with an iPad. You imagine that you have a Titan RTX in your iPad or even on your smartphone. So that's also to show we created this configuration also to show that it's the future. In the past, when we talked about cloud gaming, before the more recent services, it was very old games with old hardware that some companies had somewhere, and so they tested it on it. We really wanted to show, no, it's the latest components. It's really the future of gaming, not the second zone of gaming. Like it's really team A, not team B, and we can push all the limits and have these amazing computers available to everyone. When you look at, for example, the Titan graphic card, it's less than 0.1% of gamers who have the power of this graphic card. And probably it's not necessary for now because games are not made for such power because they know they wouldn't reach so many people. But in the future, we can imagine that since we share this graphic card, there is a better business model. It's more sustainable, and so we'll produce less graphic card because we'll share them, but with more value, more powerful ones. And that's what is our goal also. So really to democratize more and more powerful computing to unleash possibilities in terms of gaming and new games and new possibilities that will emerge, but also for other software in a more AI enriched world.
Perfect. And then at some point you'll upgrade the I guess the graphic cards and the processors and so on and so forth. Like when you buy into the tier, you also buy into the fact that you don't have to upgrade your computer yourself, right? You'll do it for the customer.
Yeah, basically, so the Shadow Ultra, which is the mid tier, it's at 25 euro per month. When you look back 2 years ago, what is now our boost offer at 12. Was our mid offer because it was at 25. Yeah. So you can say that this offer at 25 was upgraded with this new generation with RTX. So in the future we take this into account, enabling those for who it still works. For example, the 2080 will still work. Probably the price will decrease and it will still suit some people's need. But for those who want to have their system upgraded, they will be able, by keeping this price, to have updates. But that's also something interesting about our model. When you have your own computer, once it's obsolete for you, it's not necessarily obsolete for everyone else. So rather than putting it to the trash and sometimes not even recycling it, you can imagine that it could be used longer in its lifetime. So that's also how we think this model is more sustainable and how this disruption of the hardware industry is positive.
You talked about VR, but do you have any other crazy ideas about how to use the service? Like fun R&D things that you can actually talk about, of course.
Yeah. So the first thing, even beyond the future, is the present. Like we think it's really the time for cloud streaming technologies to emerge. Over the past decade, streaming has already revolutionized music, television, film, and so on. And now the cloud computing has become very mature, and we can see with our tech, it works very well. this being accelerated by fast broadband and 5G mobile networks that are being deployed. The new uses that we see being accelerated by COVID and so on. So it means the time is right to disrupt video games, but also computing in general. So what we see in the future, so we have a lot of short-term features that we are doing because we are working with it a lot with our community who wants the double screen, for instance. It's something they're waiting for a lot. And on which we're making it's already in beta. We have all these also innovations to better share the components and increase the number of users we can have on the same infrastructure. So we have a lot of tech developments being made, but more broadly, the real vision is to replace all the device, all the local device by cloud-based enabled devices.
Yeah.
And what we often say is that probably one day bringing your own laptop in a meeting room will be probably as stupid as bringing your own chair because you will just have screen on the tables or whatever, and you will just, anytime you see a screen, just log in and access your computer that will be based in the cloud. Same thing for your smartphone, same thing for everything. With this time being reduced, we think it has a lot of potential and that the next revolution we'll have, because now it's been 10 years we have the same phone, honestly, except we have more cameras, but that's all. But the next big revolution will be through cloud streaming. And we think that will unleash really amazing opportunities for gamers. But as you know, we're not only addressing gamers for every just computer users.
For now, Shadow is not officially available in Denmark. And I don't know if you have any specific plans for Denmark, but can you talk a little bit about the general rollout plan?
Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have a lot of demand. So we've been growing fast, but not too fast.
Yeah.
Because as I said, we want to ensure the customer experience, and we want to be sure of our model before we scale it. So we've been growing fast. For instance, so we are already present in Europe. Last year we opened the Netherlands, which was an additional country in Europe. We're also present. We've been present also in the UK, in France, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Belgium, in Luxembourg for quite some time. We are also present in the US, where we have 4 data centers, and we cover all the US. And last year we doubled our user base there. It's now our first market. So in total, we have 100,000 users, so which is quite a lot because it's active users. It's not just somebody who registered once. It's really active users. We also stepped first foot in Asia. We opened with LG the South Korea market. So we are going fast. We have further development plans, of course, accelerate in the countries we are in, because we already have a lot of demand that we want to meet first before serving new geographies. But the next step is clearly the rest of Western Europe, Spain, Italy, and of course Denmark, and the neighbor countries which we don't serve already. And then hopefully other countries in Asia and in the rest of the world. But as you see, we want to be a global company, but in the same time, we can't just address all the countries with one data center in Paris. So any new geographies is also in investment. And so we are going one step at a time, but rapidly enough so that we can make computing more accessible to more people very, very rapidly.